Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. According to an article by Bloomberg, Russian dictator Vladimir Putin and Chinese leader Xi Jingping decided to discuss a topic close to their hearts during their meeting in Beijing, namely longevity and even immortality. In the past, people rarely lived to be 70, but today, at that age, a person is still a child, Xi Jingping actually noted. And I guess a naughty child at that, at least if we're talking about Xi Jinping basically speaking from his own experience, or Putin's. In response, Vladimir Putin said, with a serious expression, that thanks to the development of biotechnology, organs can be transplanted continuously, and people will be able to live longer and longer, and even achieve immortality. Wow, just wow. Have they all spent the Tianjin summit binge-watching Alien Earth? Okay, so the obsession with immortality is nothing new. But coming from the mouth of a man who sends thousands of Russians to their deaths in Ukraine every day, it sounds particularly cynical. I mean, the Kremlin routinely sends its children to their deaths in meat grinder assaults, and, sometimes they're literally kids groomed for the war by the authorities. And at the same time, Vladimir Putin himself keeps fantasizing about living 150 years in a bunker with brand new organs and presumably a lifetime supply of Botox. Now, at a press conference for hand-picked journalists, or should I say journalists by name only, Putin also referenced the late Silvio Berlusconi, the former Italian prime minister and fellow Botox enthusiast, who was also fond of similar initiatives to extend the human lifespan. And actually, this is not new either, The two had already shown a keen interest in the subject back in 2010, when they joked about ruling for 120 years.
По-моему, 50-м, надо посмотреть, я могу ошибиться, но скажу в целом, о чем идет речь. К этому году, по-моему, 50-му, на планете людей старше 65 лет будет больше, чем 5-6-летних детей. Это будет иметь и социальные, и политические, и экономические последствия. А вот об этом мы должны, безусловно, тоже думать, когда говорим о продолжительности жизни.
Russia struggling with demographics, again, nothing new. It is not surprising that Vladimir Putin is obsessed with the idea of immortality, a classic portrait of a tyrant who dreams of ruling forever, even when the people have long dreamed of getting rid of him here and now. For the time being, this seems like a far-fetched concept, and Putin's most likely form of being immortalized would probably be more akin to Vladimir Lenin's infamous mummy. Putin's ambitions evidently reach far beyond crowds of tourists staring at his mortal remains in a mausoleum, however. But there are a few problems here. First, obviously, the hypocrisy of Putin sending off hundreds of thousands of ordinary Russians to perish in his Ukraine vanity project. As we've already mentioned, many of these folks don't even get to live to the age of 40, let alone forever. But if Putin treated the immortality thing seriously, would he even be going to war in the first place? This is expensive stuff. Why not spend the money on, groundbreaking research into stem cells, advanced organ transplants, or even digital transfer of consciousness? The fact that he would rather splash out on a faltering invasion could mean many things. Either he doesn't even believe in what he's saying, or he would rather seek immortality in history books, though at this pace he seems destined to fail on both counts. At this rate, even the mausoleum treatment is becoming increasingly unlikely. Even if the economy doesn't go belly up by that time, will the people of Russia be so generous to a dictator who literally sent many of them to their grave? On one of the Russian state television channels, TV presenter Vladimir Solovyov unexpectedly took on the role of a critic of his own government. Wow, this is risky ground, Vladimir. Are you sure there are no easily accessible windows in your neighborhood? Anyway, according to Solovyov, Russia allegedly does not adequately protect its oil refineries. And to be fair, he has a point, even if actually providing 100% protection to all those facilities borders on the impossible. He also criticized the so-called carpet plan, which, by the way, has nothing to do with the ubiquitous Russian tradition of hanging a decorative rug on your wall. It is, in fact, an airspace closure protocol for airports, which Mr. Solovyov considers, by the way, to be worthless. At the same time, he continues to attempt to convince his audience that the war is really not a war, but a special military operation, yeah, we've heard that before, and that the attacks on Russian infrastructure are the work of Europe and the US. Solovyov's logic is simple. If oil refineries are burning, it is not because of a lack of protection, but because evil Western forces have decided to punish the great mother Russia.
При этом, посмотрите, мы же видим, что сейчас происходит. Наносится активный удар по нашим нефтеперерабатывающим заводам. Это что, Украина делает? Да нет, конечно. Это через Украину выбивают британцы и те же американцы, которые дают разведданные и доводят. У меня только один вопрос. А мы когда-нибудь уже начнем обращать на это внимание? Сколько раз на этой передаче я поднимал вопрос о ПВО? Нет, я понимаю, что, наверное, гениальная идея отключать мобильный интернет, и от этого сразу перестает все лететь. Я понимаю, что гениальная идея вводить ковер, после чего вдруг люди не могут перелететь и в сезон отпусков сидят в аэропортах. Это здорово помогает. Я только не понимаю, чему. Потому что это все здорово помогает, но только обломки, как сейчас говорят, сбитых беспилотников наносят такой ущерб, что не понимаешь, а за это кто-то отвечать собирается у нас в стране?
Overall, it still seems like a classic coping mechanism. Solovyov may admit that something is wrong, which is true by the way, but will go to great lengths to blame Western interference, downplaying Ukraine's own ingenuity. I mean, Kyiv producing literally millions of drones has nothing to do with all this, right? The Russian media have once again come up with a sensational story about alleged atrocities committed by Ukrainians in the Kursk region. This time, the story is accompanied by a quote. "They shot me with an automatic weapon. With an automatic weapon. 4 bullets hit me. 1 went through my heart and into my arm." However, for those who follow the news about the Kursk region, this already sounds like basically an old story being repeated all over again. Obviously, the imagination of Russian propagandists is running out, and it is becoming increasingly difficult to come up with brand new stories.
ВСУшники стреляли по вам?
С автомата меня аж расстреляли они, с автомата, понимаете? Машина вообще в решете превратилась. В меня влетело 4 пули с автомата. Одна пуля прошла вот, кожу тут содрала, кровище была. Другая погладила, рука вот такая была. Третья вот тут в сердце, через сердце, и вошла в руку туда, в руке была пуля. 4-я пуля сзади на вылет, вот такой клок вырвало все.
Now, I don't want to say anything bad, but are we sure that this guy was really shot 4 times? I mean, he looks pretty much okay, but my medical expertise is admittedly limited. Anyone out there who's seen enough episodes of Dr. House to tell me if this stuff is even medically possible? I know you can theoretically survive a bullet going through the heart, provided you receive highly professional medical care immediately afterwards. Is Russia known for highly professional medical care for anyone other than billionaires or criminal officials? Well, at least the guy didn't go for the classic movie trope and claim he was shielded by a golden medallion with Vladimir Putin's face on it, which stopped the bullet from killing him outright. Also, the man claims traumatic cranial injury. Does he look like someone who's just gone through this kind of ordeal? Again, my Grey's Anatomy is somewhat rusty, but wouldn't there be, extensive scarring or traces of reconstruction of the skull? Either way, the guy has claimed not one, but at least 2 instances of miraculous survival in just one incident. So either he's wearing a tremendous amount of plot armor, or he is an outright liar. Then again, Putin's after immortality, right? Could this guy be a top-secret super soldier who regenerates vital organs like he's Deadpool on steroids? Now, that's one idea the Russian propaganda hasn't tried to use yet. You're welcome. And with this, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.